Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Darla Lucian of Darla Lucian Studios, and I'm so glad that you popped by here today. So guess what? We are working on winter journals. This is the third one in this series. I can't get over how much I love this Winter Tales by Stamperia. It's lovely, and all the blues and everything. Oh, we're singing the blues this January. Anyway, before we get going in our journals today, I just wanted to give a shout out to all the people who have subscribed. Some new ones are Barb Dingwell, Just Imagine Journals, Ephemera's Treasures, Melissa, 25, JW, Saison Vintage World, Evelyn Taylor, Debbie Johnson. Thank you guys so much for subbing. We are trying to get to 100 subbies. Every little bit helps, and it helps us to grow our channel. So, you know, just talking about that, if you could like the video, subscribe if you're not subscribed, please comment. I love hearing what you're working on. Are you working on a winter journal? Have you seen this Stamperia paper? I mean, I really love it. Or maybe you're doing a different project. I would love to hear it. So definitely leave a comment below, and then share with other crafty people. You know, sharing is caring, and also helps to grow our channel and get up to the 100 subbies that we are looking for. When we get to 100 subbies, I am going to be doing a draw for some of my products. So I'm really excited about putting that together. I've already started to work on it, and I am much anticipating being able to share that with you soon. Okay, so I am just putting away my little winter chipboard letters so that they don't get lost in all of what we're going to be doing today. So today we're going to do a tutorial on how to stitch in signatures. Now, I bet you have heard about junk journals before. If you're not a big junk journaler, or if you just started, one of the most daunting things I found as a new beginner, as a new person, was, okay, I know how to play with the paper because I used to scrapbook. You know, I kind of know how to deal with lace and ribbon and things because scrapbooking and sewing. I have sewn things. Now I'm sewing paper. Whoever knew that was going to happen. But what about putting the papers together and making the book? Sewing a signature can be really overwhelming. Anyway, so I wanted to show you what it is that I do, and we'll be binding these 3 journals up today. So I'm going to just take this one. So we just have one in front of us at a time. All right, so the first thing that I do, and not everybody does this, but I find it makes it so much easier, is to pre-make the holes. Instead of trying to stitch through with a needle, and I do use a hand sewing method, I have some choices of embroidery floss. I'll tell you why in a minute, and a needle. All right, so instead of trying to push through all these layers of paper and try to make a hole as I go, I make a hole ahead, and that is just so simple with using my kit here I have from Making Memories. It has this little punch. This one is the smallest. You can switch it out to different sizes all the way up to this really big one. Then you just line it up. I actually make a template so that my holes are always exactly in alignment with each other. Actually, I'll show you that since we're doing that. I should have pulled that out, but it's handy here because I use it all the time. So this is literally from a Lucky Charm cereal box, looks like. It's recycled cardboard, and I tell myself where the top is, and this is measured for an 8.5 page, okay, because most of my journals are this size. So this is my 8.5 template. So what I do is I line it up like this. Then I take a Sharpie marker in black or in a lighter color if it's a dark page, and I make sure that I'm right at the seam. You understand? Like where it bends, right? The inside seam where we're going to sew. And then I put a dot right beside there, right beside there, right beside there. So now I have my dots. So then I take usually maybe 2 or 3 sheets at a time. You got to be careful because they shift a bit, and depending on the kind of, like if it's thin copy paper, then you could take 3 or 4, but I'd had some thin paper and some cardstock together here. And so, you know, then 2 is probably best. Okay, so I have my glue book, or in this case, my punching pad. My glue book, my glue pad, or my punching pad. This is what I work on, is these blocks of books that I take out of when I use the cover for journals. And so then, you know, you find where your dots are. So like I said, I've already done this one. So you have to make sure that your papers are in alignment, top and bottom, and then also that you're tight in at the seam line. So then I just place my punch right on top of the black dot, like so, and then hammer away. So I give it a few really good whacks, and then do this one and this one, and so then you'd go through the whole book like that. And so then to keep them in order, I just kind of turn them upside down, and then the next ones go on top, and so on and so on. You can probably see really easily here on this darker blue where the holes are punched. And that means that I'm going through that CD cover, everything. Then when I get to the cover, I do the cover on its own, obviously. It's already 3 layers. It's quite thick. And it's really, really important to make sure the cover is perfectly in alignment, because, you know, that's going to be seen. This one is going to be stitched right to the outside. I sometimes do hidden binding, where I stitch it to a cardboard that I'm inserting into a cover. And that's what I did in the winter collection, the Christmas collection. If you remember, those ones have a covered spine and a hidden spine with the stitching, with the hidden binding, I should say. So I did punch through here. It didn't come through perfectly, but all I need is a hole that I can wiggle my needle through. So now we've got our holes prepped. And I spared you hearing me hammer all the 3 of these books, because every page times 3 books, every page times 3 holes, every book, you know, every set of pages is times 3 books. So that is crazy. All right, so we don't need this anymore. So now we need to choose our embroidery floss. I like embroidery floss because it's strong, it's cotton, it's got a lot of color choices. If you've done any embroidery work, you'll know that. And it's slippery, like it's smooth, which means it slides through easier. So I'm for sure right away I'm going to just disregard the teal because that just isn't going to go with our thing. This royal blue is quite a bit dark, too dark for it, I think. But one of these light blue shades might be nice. So I'm actually going to look at the center signature, because that's where we're going to start and we're going to end. And we're going to have our little ties hanging down here. So if I'm looking at this page in particular, I really don't like this on there. So I can see that I'm going with kind of some of these mid-tones to lighter tones. Any one of those could look good. Why don't I just pick 3, and then we'll do a different one in each journal. So each of these have numbers on them. These ones are the same. I guess that tells me right away that it's going to be these 3. So this one is 303, this one is 302, and this one is 304. Oh, so they're right next to each other in a series. So that explains why I like them so much. They're varying shades. I bought a pack actually I bought a few packs where it had like a monochromatic theme, but that they were all different shades of kind of like blues or purples, maybe even greens. I think I did that way too. Anyway, I like having a bit of choice, because sometimes the shade isn't always just perfect, and so then that gets frustrating. Okay, so now you just slide this off. 1 hour, baby. Sorry, my son is coming back to report to me. Alright, so I'm sliding this off, but I'm definitely going to want to keep that. I'll see if I can get that back on later. We'll see how that goes. Okay, find the end. Try not to make a naughty mess of it. I don't know. There's probably a better way to do this. I'm not an embroidery person, so I don't necessarily know how to do the threads. Now, when you do embroidery, sometimes they tell you to take the plies apart, like, because it's a thread here is like twisted with a bunch of the different, like I think it's 6-strand embroidery floss. Well, I obviously started at the wrong end because it is just making a naughty mess. Anyway, we'll get there. What we need is 3 of the book lengths. 1, 2, 3. And that'll give us enough to work with. All right, so I'm going to leave that all together over there. So then we just need to thread our needle. So I always wet it and then fold it over and pull my needle out. So now it's got, instead of an end which could fray, it's got a loop, which is easy to push through quite a big eye. So you don't want to leave, like you don't want to make such a long tail, but you don't want to make a short one either. All right, so I'm going to do my version of the 3-hole pamphlet stitch. It's an actual binding term. 3-hole pamphlet stitch. This is my version of it. I start in the middle. I like the middle. I like how it looks when you're done because it has an evenness to it. So different people do different ways, but I like getting my papers on the thread first before I start clipping things down. I just find it easier to do that because to get the holes aligned is tricky until you get going. Oh, and I bet you've noticed that I added lace between the 2 videos. So each of the journals has 3 strips of ribbon or lace added. All right, so I just, see what I just did? Flip it right on top of my needle, and I use my needle, and instead of putting my needle in, I actually bring the papers to the needle. I find this so much faster than trying to dig and dig and dig. And when you have a needle and you're digging, I mean, you're tearing the paper right where you're trying to get it to be strong, and that just made no sense to me. So you can probably do this at more than one at a time. Oh, there's my CD cover. So we're going to make sure that that gets in the right way. And I put it in the center instead of, you know, sometimes you can put it on top or on the bottom. So you can do more than one at a time, but it doesn't always work ideally. Ooh, I love those tea-dyed papers. Some of my favorites, how they turned out this time. Oh, there's another one with the ribbon on. See that one? Isn't that pretty? That one is stitched flat right on there. It is a wired ribbon, and it just didn't seem to work any other way, but I really wanted that swirly one on top of the blue, and there's that other ribbon there, which is going to be right at the front of your signature. All right, this is the last paper, and then guess what? The journal cover just goes on the same way. Right there. Okay, so now I'm going to pull my needle through, but not all the way through. So I have my needle on one side, and my thread on one side. Now I want you to keep in mind I am right-handed, and my needle is now in my left hand. So I do kind of hand it back and forth a little bit, but I do switch the book around. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. You'll have to wait till after I'm finished videoing and we'll solve that problem. Okay. Alright, so I want to leave a tail, but I want to hang on to that tail. I don't want it to disappear. So I'm going to bring it down here to where I'm going to clip. So I don't know if you noticed, but I'm shifting all the pages toward the center seam. And I want to make sure that it's tight and exactly in place. Okay. So I'm going to bring this here, and you know what? I'm going to bring this tie here as well so that it's not flopping around. And I'm going to use a binder clip. Actually, that's probably a good size. Binder clip to clip it. I'm clipping the 2 ties and all the pages and the cover so that they don't shift. Now on this side, I am going to try clipping this. Now I don't always clip it at the, you know, I'll clip it to the bottom because I want to be able to see what's going on. So my needle is flip-flopping around a little bit like a little fish, and that's not always handy, as you can imagine. Okay. All right. So I just don't want my pages shifting a huge amount. Okay, so now I've turned my book upside down so that my needle is going to be in my right hand again. So we've come from the center inside to the outside center. Now we're going to go to the top, and I'm going to find my hole. Easier said than done, maybe. And now we start coming through. All right, so these guys aren't in as good of an alignment as I would hope, but not bad. So sometimes it helps to just kind of peek down there and see what your needle's doing. Okay, my needle's going off to the side there. I don't know if you can see that exactly, but I'm just going to pull it back out a little and realign it. And I'm just sliding the papers onto the needle. Just the same thing as I had done before, right? With the center when I was coming in. It just makes life easier to do it like that. There's not pushing with the needle, you know, through all these layers of paper. Okay, maybe there was a little pushing. But like I said, getting things in alignment and not having to break through all the paper and make it weak right there. Okay, so now you see that we've got from the center to the top one thread. And now we pull it tight. And now we're going to go from the top to the bottom. So I'm turning it so that my needle is in my right hand. My thread is, I haven't released it too much yet. So I want to keep that tight. So I'm going to go through here to the outside. Okay. It should be more lined up than it is. All right, let's try this again. Oh, these ones are not as lined up as they should be. Dun, dun, dun. So once I get through all the papers, which it doesn't really want to do, so I'm just going to put the needle on its backside to push through. Okay, then we need to get lining up with that hole over there. I'm not sure why my hole is so far out. There we go. Alright, so I was just missing the hole in the cover, which is why that was so hard to push through. Alright, so now I'm pulling it, but I just have a little bit of my tail hanging here, so I want to make sure that my tail comes through. Okay, so my tail is through, I'm pulling tight. So now you see we've got the one thread where we started, we've got a full one like that, and then on the spine we have going up to the top and then coming out the bottom. So the last step of the stitching part is to come to the center and to go through that same hole again. You do want to, as best as you can, try to avoid splitting into the threads of the previous stitch. It just doesn't pull as smoothly then. Goodness sakes, can't talk today, huh? Alright, so we know that we've gotten through here before, so let's just see what we got going on. Alright, so what we want to do is pull this through, tail to, good, and then we want to pull this tight. Now we don't need our needle on here anymore. What we do need, however, is for this center line to have one thread on one side, one thread on the other side, and we're just going to triple knot this. That's my big trick here. So after pulling it tight every step of the way, we're triple knotting in the center, and that signature is done. And now when we see the outside, we've got one stitch there, a really long stitch, and one stitch there, and in the center we have one long cord knotted over top in the middle with the tassels hanging down. So to finish, now I just cut these to the length that I want. I mean, you can leave them long, long, long if you want, but I don't want them hanging out of the journal. So I am going to put on some sequins now to just, some people tie charms on or whatever. It's always good to, like, whatever your plan is to do that and then make the snip. So in the case of attaching these little snowflake sequins, it's actually easier to have them the right length, because we're going to put these right on the ends. Oh my goodness, these are really stuck together. Oh, I think that's it. Okay, so I'm going to use these beautiful silver snowflakes to finish this off. So bringing my glue book back, and we're going to use tacky glue for this fun little project. tacky glue right in the center of 2 of these. Just a dot. So then I'm going to bring the end of the thread and stick it there, right in there, and then I'm going to sandwich it right between the sequins, and so that glue is going to squish together. I'll do that again here. Put the thread right in the center, bring the other sequin over and squish it down on top. Alright, so we just need to hold these for a minute because it's tacky glue. So what did you think? Talk to me in the comments about how you bind books, because this is a major hurdle, I think, for a lot of new beginning junk journalers or bookmakers. It isn't actually all that difficult if you can make it easier for yourself by making the holes ahead. I know some people use awls, some people use like hole punch. You'd have to have a really long hole punch to get to the center, obviously. I don't have that. This is what I had. I'm very much about working with what you got. I have this little thing. I don't even know where it came from, but I love that motto, especially in the world that we're living in right now, where everybody is trying to do the best they can with the situation. I definitely work with what I've got. So look at that. I'm pretty happy with how that looks. So this journal is just about done. So then the last thing that I want to do, which journal is this? The poinsettia one. So that is this one. This is what I wanted to put on. So this one, I've added the lace since the last time. I've attached a book page pocket. I've tucked in an ex libris that you can put, you know, on there if you want to. I just tucked it in because you might want to embellish it a certain way. And then of course we've tied it now. Oh, and I attached, where is that? That book page belly band with stitching as well. So you'd be able to slide something underneath like that. And then, so then the last thing I want to do before I get these 2 of these journals ready for sale is just put a pocket in the back. And then this one is ready to go. So I guess I put my glue book away just a moment too soon. So we need 3 sides. So we can create our pocket. Ooh, it didn't come out as good on that side. There we go. Alright. I like having pockets in my journals because it gives you lots of spaces to tuck things down. And there we go. Alright. So this one is just about ready. Wow. I can't believe how quickly this came together. Hey, this week has blown by. Alright, let's work on the next one. So again, it's the same idea. We're going to do this. Oh, we're not going to use the blue. We're going to take our book. Alright, where's my here? I think I got it right this time because it's not. Oh, no, maybe I spoke too soon. But I do see the other thread, so let's see if that's going to make my life any better. Nope. I guess I'm no good with embroidery floss. 1, 2, come on, 3. It's just a quick guide. I mean, it's not exactly the right size, but it's close enough, right? Close enough to the right size. Where did my needle go? There it is. Let's get this guy out of the way for now. Alright, threading my needle. Come on, get through. Alright, there's my tail. So now that I've kind of explained it to you, I'm just going to kind of flip through. So are you guys back into the swing now after the holidays are over? I wonder. I'm actually recording this on the weekend. My plan is to do most of my video recording on the weekends because my weekdays are very busy with homeschooling and filling my Etsy shop and all those fun things. I have, I showed my kids my list of what I wanted to get done today, and they just about passed out. So I'm hoping that means that I am going to have lots of cooperation. We do want to still do, make a cookie house. We haven't done that yet, and we usually do that before Christmas, but that just didn't happen this year. And we're not even worrying about it. You know, we're pretty laid back this year, I think. We're just kind of going with the flow. So we have, we've done different kinds of cookie houses before. We did gingerbread houses for the longest time. Actually, we had this whole big thing that my husband and I did where he would make gingerbread. Actually, it started off with gingerbread kids. They would make gingerbread boys and girls, and while they were doing that, a highly involved activity, I would be wrapping all the gifts in the bedroom. And nobody would actually ever open the door and come in hardly, because, you know, of course, highly engaging activity. But at one point, that did happen because Rachel wanted to share with me that, you know, like their progress or whatever. She's the baker. She loves baking, and she just wanted to share her successes. And so then I had to tell her, oh, well, I wrap some of these gifts, but of course Santa brings your stockings. And then, you know, eventually we graduated from gingerbread people to gingerbread houses, but the gingerbread is really stiff to roll, and I find it very hard to work with. I mean, it smells absolutely outstanding, but you can get that smell with ginger snap cookies, which are much easier to make. And anyway, so when my husband stopped doing that because we didn't have to hide that I was wrapping gifts anymore, I just said, I'm going to wrap gifts, don't open the door. Then, oh goodness, this one's giving me grief. Of course. Because I'm on camera trying to have a chat with you. Oh, there we go. That's the issue between those layers there. Okay. And there's the hole. Come on, you. Hiya. Okay. Alright. So my thread did this weird thing where it tried to separate, so I'm just going to try to smooth it out right to the end again. Yeah, there, it's fine. Anyway, when it was my job to do the cookie house, all of a sudden I'm like, you know, I have this recipe for a sugar cookie house. Let's try that. And so we switched to the sugar cookie house recipe, and then that, I'm just tightening this, that is a lot easier to roll out, but it also needs to have kind of like a lot of lead time. So make the dough ahead, let it chill for a few hours, then roll out the stuff in the pans, cut your shapes, and then you're supposed to bake it, and then you're supposed to let it kind of cure for like a day or something. Like, it's supposed to harden, I guess. And I really, really like how the silver looks, so I think I'm going to stick with silver. Or is that 2? Anyway, so we have the cookie dough has been cooling in our garage because our fridge was full. We made turkey soup with the last of our turkey which turned out really nice. But then it takes up so much space. I guess we could have put the turkey soup outside, but cookie house dough is what got made after, so that's how that went. But anyway, so the dough is chilled, so we just have to do the rolling part, which will be fun, and then making the actual shapes. We wanted to make, we've done different ways where you know, we've had a competition and, you know, who can make the best house and stuff, and nobody is feeling competitive this year. Everybody's just feeling really laid back. So we're just going to go with that, and we're going to do a collaborative house this year. And I might need more glue on that one. Oh, that seems okay. Come back that one to make sure that you're stuck good. So I think that'll be interesting. Just a different feel to things. I know lots of people have huge traditions around their making their cookie houses, and has to be exactly a certain way and all of that stuff. And that's not us. We like making sure that we get some of the traditions in, but we like also adapting them so that they're always kind of a little bit unique and new. Got it. So which one is this one? Oh, this is the one that gets the stripe. Alright, so I'm putting glue on 3 sides for this pocket. Oh, you better get to the right page, huh? Okay. There we go. Alright, that one's done. Boy, that looks good. Awesome. Okay, one last one. And I bet you guys have got this down now, huh? Oh, where's my end? Is that it? 1, 2, 3. Wow, this one actually stayed together better. Maybe I'm not so hopeless after all. Don't get my hopes up too quick, okay? Maybe if I worked with it more, I'd know how to handle it more. Plus, I have got glue, dry glue all over my hands, so that is catching on a few things too, which probably is not helping. Anyway, it's funny how different families have their different traditions, I guess. That's where I'm trying to go with all of that chat. But, you know, we don't mind changing things out or trying things new. We hear of family traditions that other people have. Sometimes it's fun to adapt their traditions for what works with our family. Not every family is the same, obviously. Boy, this is not wanting to come on here. Why isn't that lining up? Is it this one? Oh, it's because the CD covers it. Alright, that's why I couldn't even see the hole properly. There we go. Alright. So I've kind of alternated. I don't know if you've noticed when I put the pages in here that I've alternated the tea-dyed papers with the scrapbooking papers with the just the plain, like the, when I say scrapbooking papers, what I mean is the patterned papers, and then with the solid papers. I like having a mix of that, so that when you're flipping through, it's always kind of an interesting thing to look at. Does that make sense? I hope so. I'm trying to keep kind of a little bit of a uniqueness to it, and the reason I pin the ties down is just because then they get in the way, and it's not like you'd have to, but I just find it's just easier to tuck them out of the way than to have to just constantly be flipping them. Alright, so now I'm pulling that tight. See? Turning it around. Let's do the top. Oh. Speaking of ties that are in the way, let's get this one out of the way too. But now that Christmas is over, and there's a lot of traditions everybody has around Christmas, we're going to be getting into kind of more wintry time of year, and I'm just wondering, do you guys have traditions that you do in winter? Like every winter we, you know, whatever, go to the ski hill or go tobogganing, or, you know what I mean? I'm trying to think about some of the traditions that we do, and we try to do, like, we have a lot of family time that we spend together. That's really, really high priority for our family, is the quality time together. One of the things that I want to do this year that we haven't done as much in the past is to really prioritize physical activity and getting outside. Because, especially with homeschooling, you know, it's easy to just stay inside with our books, be bookish. And as you can imagine, I'm especially bookish. My husband's computerish. I'm more computerish these days than I used to be. Obviously, hi everyone in computer land. But the thing of it is that, I mean, our culture of our family, I mean, I guess our culture at large, but our family culture is not a lot of moving and not a lot outside. And so I really want to make sure that we're intentional this year. That's one of my goals for our family, is to be more intentional about physical activity and about getting outside, getting that fresh air. Do you guys make goals as a family? This is kind of my goal for the family. I don't know how they're all going to appreciate me making goals for everybody, but that's pretty typical in our family, that I make the plan and then everybody has to execute. These are really interesting sequins. I find it funny that they're all of them are stuck together, and you don't notice it until you think you only need 2, and then all of a sudden you have 4, and then more, because they keep sloughing off the outside, but they haven't been glued, right? So when they start bumping into something. Okay, why isn't this going on? Where are we trying to get to? Right there. Okay. I like these because they're shiny and they're sparkly, and now I'm spreading little gluey fingerprints all over everywhere. Just a little opposite of what I was hoping to do. Okay, let's make sure that thread is still in there. Not as far as I would like. There we go. All right. Well, hopefully we demystified sewing a 3-hole portfolio stitch, and that you won't feel too intimidated by it, and that you're going to be, oh, nuts, that you're going to be willing to give it a shot. Which one came loose? I yanked on it by accident, and there it is. And the other half of the thing came off. It's my gluey fingertips, that's what I'm blaming it on. And now they're even more gluey. See, that's the thing about tacky glue, is it does give you a minute. You know, it's different than other kinds of glue, which make kind of a seal right away. Tacky glue is a little bit more forgiving. Once it's sealed, once it's on there, but you get a chance to position it until it dries. Yeah, so 3-hole pamphlet stitch, not too difficult. Lots of prep work to make it easier. Definitely use embroidery floss as a great option. I know people use actual binding thread. You can buy binding kits on Amazon or different places. It's not necessary. It makes life easier, but you can work with what you've got. The motto for 2020 and maybe into 2021. Working with what we got. Anyway, thank you guys so much for coming along for the journey. I hope that you're enjoying these videos. If you are, please like and subscribe. Like I said, we're going to try to get to our 100 subbies. So important for us to know what it is that you're looking for. So definitely comment on your favorite binding methods and your favorite binding materials, threads and things. It'd be great to hear. Thank you guys so much, and we'll just catch you in the next video.